Okay, I'm going to go over doing a trial assembly with a dry fit of the project. Here I have an example of the project that's been glued up. And here I have some pieces that the project is comprised of. Now, I've used about 3 different students' projects to compile these together, because I was checking the measurements to make sure they were pretty accurate, and it took me a little bit of effort to find exactly what I was looking for. So when you're getting ready to do a trial assembly, you're going to first want to check the overall dimensions of your project. Your back piece, once it's all glued up, should be 17 by 10. This one is actually not 17 by 10, pardon me for that, but 17 by 12. This one's actually 17 and a half by 12, so it's a ½ inch long. That'll have to be trimmed, which is fine. You should have 2 shelves. These shelves need to be 12 and a quarter by 9 and a half. So you're going to need 2 of those, 12 and a quarter by 9 and a half. And then you're going to need your 2 sides, which are 17 tall and 10 wide. Now on the sides, they need to have the 3/4 inch dado cuts, and those 3/4 inch dado cuts need to be spaced 3 3/4 apart. And then it also has this ½ inch lap that is about 1/4 inch deep. So we've been making the dado cuts on a table saw with the dado blade, and we've been making this lap cut on the table router at the same time that we were making the lap cut to create the back. So when I say dry fit, that means we're going to be clamping this together without using any glue. So if you think of glue as being wet, we're actually going to assemble the project without glue. You're going to want 3 bar clamps, and when I'm using the bar clamp, I want to make sure that the head is all the way up so that I'm not fighting that. And I like to slide the clamp along, or the bottom jaw of the clamp along, to make sure there's not a lot of glue, dried glue, that's gonna cause too much friction for us to work with that. So I'm adjusting the head, I'm checking the bar, and I'm doing that with all of these. So I have those 3 clamps ready. Now we can start out by, sometimes I'll just take a side piece and I'll set the shelves in. To see how those fit. And they should be able to stand up in that dado cut. Put the other side on. And then I'll try and set the back piece in place. And I'm looking to see if there's any gaps. Now I've already checked the dimensions of my board. Some students have shelves that are 12 and a half long, and they have to be 12 and a quarter, so they were actually made a little large so that they could be sized down. So this looks pretty decent. I may be able to stand it up. It might fall apart on me. I don't know if I can stand that up. Then I'm probably in decent shape. The back's not sitting in there too well. Now I'll take my bar clamp and I'm going to adjust it so that I can slide it onto there. And sometimes it helps if you have a buddy. I don't have a buddy, so I have to take my time. And again, this is with no glue on it. What I'm looking for is accuracy in my pieces, and I need to decide if I need to do any other machining with them. And I can already see if these were in fact the pieces that I was working with or am working with, I can already see some things that I need to do with them. And I'll point that out here in a moment. But I'll get those clamped on there. Turn that towards you, you'll be able to see that better. And then I put one across the front here. Now overall, this looks pretty good, but there are a few things I must consider. I noticed down in this area right here is a little bit of a gap. So that tells me that my shelf is just a little too long. And what I can do is I can go to the miter box saw and take off maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch and try this dry fit again. Because I want to make sure before I glue it that there's no gaps. The other thing, and you should be able to see this, is if this was my top, it's not at the finished size, it sticks up about a 1/2 inch. So again, I can take this to the miter box saw and trim that off, trim that 1/2 inch off. The other thing I need to consider is all of this old finish on these pieces is going to need to be removed, and more than likely I'm going to have to do that by hand sanding. If I was to run this through the planer again, that would take off too much material and that wouldn't fit in my dados very well. I want to have a good snug fit in my dados, and if I start planing this down, I'm going to lose too much material on that. Also, any pencil marks I need to sand off as well. It's going to be a lot easier to sand these pieces down when they're individual pieces as opposed to it being completely assembled. But at this point, you do want to do a dry fit to check your pieces for accuracy. It also helps you know if you have everything you need before you start moving on to making the drawer piece. So what I'd like to see is, as soon as you're ready to make this dry fit, please do that. Please show it to me, and then I will assess you with some type of grade on that. So until next time, good luck.